China and Japan's alliance in AI and EV. Is the US falling behind? Recently, the strategic landscape of the global electric vehicle (EV) industry has witnessed a notable shift. Japanese automakers, long admired for their craftsmanship, reliability, and global reach, are increasingly partnering with Chinese tech firms renowned for their advancements in artificial intelligence and smart mobility platforms. This wave of collaboration signals more than just pragmatic outsourcing. It represents a mutual recognition of strengths and gaps. Japanese car makers such as Toyota, Nissan, and Honda have begun embedding Chinese-developed AI software and systems into their vehicles, often for the domestic Chinese market, where consumer expectations for digital features are extremely high. These partnerships, ranging from in-car operating systems to autonomous driving platforms, are becoming a vital survival strategy for Japanese companies seeking relevance in an EV world increasingly defined by data, connectivity, and intelligent systems. At the same time, Chinese firms like Huawei, Momenta, and Deeproot view these alliances as strategic stepping stones for broader global influence. This growing Japan-China alliance has also been catalyzed by an important geopolitical backdrop: the increasing tariffs and protectionist measures imposed by the United States. In a bid to shield its domestic industries and push back against China's rising tech dominance, the U.S. has levied high tariffs on both Chinese goods and EV components. These actions have inadvertently nudged Japan closer to China, especially in areas where the U.S. market is becoming less hospitable. For Japanese automakers, China not only represents the largest EV market, but also a strategic alternative to the uncertainties of US-China tensions. As a result, partnerships with Chinese AI firms are not just about technology. They're also about realigning economic strategy in a fragmented global order. The first notable shift is the increasing number of Japanese automakers leveraging Chinese AI to boost their EV competitiveness. For example, Toyota collaborated with Huawei to integrate its Harmony OS-based smart cockpit into select models sold in China. Nissan has similarly partnered with Chinese startup Momenta to develop advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS, while Honda has joined hands with DeepSeek to develop voice commands. Honda is also working with contemporary AmpereX technology on the batteries. These moves are not isolated. Rather, they represent a collective pivot towards leveraging China's rapid innovation in vehicle intelligence. For Japan, this is both a necessity and a calculated risk. Japan's traditional strength has been in mechanical engineering, manufacturing efficiency, and brand reputation. However, these are no longer sufficient differentiators in an EV market where the AI software stack increasingly defines the user experience. Chinese firms, with their home-ground advantage and ability to iterate quickly, offer precisely what Japanese companies lack: nimbleness, scale, and cutting-edge AI algorithms. This convergence of needs has birthed a symbiotic relationship where each party stands to gain, though not necessarily on equal terms. The big question now is whether Japan can leverage this opportunity to develop its own AI capabilities. There is precedent for learning through collaboration, especially in tech. By working closely with Chinese firms that operate at the bleeding edge of mobility AI, Japanese engineers and executives are gaining exposure to development models, data management strategies, and user feedback systems that are difficult to replicate in Japan's more regulated and conservative environment. However, there's a fine line between learning and dependency. If Japanese automakers treat these partnerships merely as a way to outsource AI development rather than as a springboard for internal capability building, they risk becoming hollowed out in the one domain that increasingly defines the future of mobility. A critical factor will be whether Japan invests in AI R&D parallel to these partnerships. Are Toyota and Nissan developing their own machine learning teams? Are they building data lakes and simulation environments necessary for autonomous driving at scale? If yes, then this moment could mark the beginning of a technological renaissance for Japanese mobility. If not, then Japan may find itself relegated to the role of a hardware vendor in a software-defined industry. For China, the strategic calculus is much clearer. These partnerships represent a form of platform expansion. By embedding Chinese AI and smart systems into Japanese cars, Chinese firms are effectively exporting their technology stack, even if the cars themselves are not leaving China's borders. This is where the flywheel effect kicks in. More partnerships mean more vehicles running Chinese software. More vehicles mean more data, which in turn improves algorithms and training pipelines. Better AI leads to more attractive offerings, which attracts even more automakers. This self-reinforcing loop is central to how firms like Huawei envision the future of mobility. It's no longer about selling parts or modules, it's about being the brains of the car. Just as Google positioned Android as the operating system for billions of phones, Huawei and its peers are aiming to become the Android for cars, but with tighter integration and national strategic backing. This could eventually allow Chinese firms to dominate not just the domestic EV landscape, but also to shape global standards, especially in regions where Western firms have limited presence or influence. Japanese partnerships are a convenient and valuable accelerant in this broader ambition. The implications for the United States are multifaceted and in some ways concerning. At the most immediate level, U.S. automakers like Ford, GM, and Tesla face increased competition from vehicles that offer comparable or superior digital experiences at lower costs, thanks in part to Chinese AI. But the deeper issue is geopolitical and technological. As more countries adopt Chinese AI platforms, we inch closer to a scenario of tech balkanization, where the world splits into distinct technological spheres, one dominated by the US and the other by China and its ecosystem of partners. This division isn't just about operating systems or voice assistants. It touches on data governance, cybersecurity, and the very architecture of the connected world. For U.S. companies and policymakers, the rise of Chinese mobility AI poses a dual challenge: how to innovate quickly enough to remain competitive, and how to ensure that global norms and standards reflect democratic values. Current export restrictions and chip bans may slow down China's momentum in some areas, but they cannot replace the need for robust domestic investment in mobility AI, cloud infrastructure, and next-gen user experience platforms. Ultimately, what we are witnessing is the early stage of a new global order in AI and EV, one where traditional hierarchies are upended and new alliances redefine who leads and who follows. Japan's collaboration with China may yield short-term gains and help its automakers remain relevant in their largest export market. For China, these deals are part of a much broader strategic vision, one that sees AI not just as a tool, but as a geopolitical asset. And for the United States, the challenge is to avoid complacency and to recognize that the next great race in tech is not just about chips or cloud computing, but about who gets to define intelligence on wheels and other applications. The road ahead will be contested, dynamic, and global. How each nation navigates it will shape not only the future of transportation, but also the future of technological sovereignty. As the race for dominance in AI and EV heats up, who do you think will come out on top? China, Japan, or the US? I'd love to hear your take, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Mahalo!